This is my how-to video on the police complaints process. Now, it's not legal advice, but it is based on my own views and on my own experience with it. Firstly, you need to identify the complaint, and what I mean by that is you need to make sure that the conduct that you're complaining about is actually covered by the police complaints process. And by that I mean that you are complaining about conduct that is covered in the process, and that is listed on the screen now. In your complaint, you need to identify the police officer or officers or police staff. So ideally you need to know the name and collar number and the station that they're based from, if possible. Never tell the officer that you're going to make a complaint at the time of the incident. This gives them the heads up of a complaint coming against them. Also, they have the ability then to try and preempt it and conspire with their colleagues. They are able to write conspired entries in their pocket notebooks, make up stories, etc. So definitely don't tell them you're going to make a complaint. When you do make a complaint, ideally it's best to be done in, say, a Word format, a document format. That allows you to create bullet points. You need to bullet point the elements of the complaint if there's more than one. For example, if you were assaulted by a police officer, you say assault, and then next to the bullet point you identify the lead up to and the incident itself, how the assault came about, what was the circumstances surrounding the said assault. If you have any witnesses, introduce them into your statement by name, contact numbers. Also, if you can, get a small statement from the witness to indicate that they did witness the event and they are prepared to give further information if required. You also need to introduce any evidence, so this could be any type of evidence, but anything that can prove your side of events, i.e. photographs, CCTV, audio recordings. This obviously includes any witnesses as well. If the incident took place in a public place or an area protected by CCTV, then make a subject access request for the CCTV. So make use of that. That can take up to 30 days or more sometimes, and the CCTV can also be deleted after 30 days. So my advice would always be seek the subject access request as soon as you know that you may need it. The complaint can go ahead without the subject access material. Just reference the subject access material within the complaint, and that it will follow on. Once you've created your complaint in a Word document, read it again. Read through it and make sure it's clear. Make sure you understand it, and make sure that every element of the complaint is concise, covered by the complaints process, and that you can in some way show how it's wrong in law what the officer has done, or not necessarily in law, just wrong in a conduct sense. So in your complaint, don't waffle, keep it concise, factual, don't exaggerate any of the incidents. A classic example for this is if you've been arrested and detained and your allegation is it's unlawfully arrested and detained, don't say you've been kidnapped. You've been unlawfully arrested and unlawfully detained. Now, there are elements of the offence of kidnap which can transfer across to unlawful detention, but for the purposes of the complaint, it will be unlawful arrest and detention, most likely. So once your complaint is finalised in draft, ask a friend, family member or trusted person to read it and make sure that they understand it. You need to make sure that the complaint is perfect to a point, to make sure that there's no ambiguity about the allegation that you're making. Make sure it's clear and concise. Get somebody else to double check it, get them to query anything before you submit the complaint. When you're ready to submit it, I would say submit it on the IOPC website. This gives you a paper trail of the complaint submission. If you do it through their own submission form on their website, they forward it to the necessary police force and you get a copy by email. Your email copy has a reference number and it does give you a format of your complaint as well. So once the complaint is submitted, it goes to the police force and they will hopefully acknowledge it. They generally, or should, send you an email or letter confirming that they've received the complaint. They'll sympathise with you, of course, how you've had to use the complaints process, and they'll tell you that they will do their best to look into it. Take that with a pinch of salt, because they won't, but make sure that when they do come back with a summary, that you check the summary of the complaint and make sure it is identical to the complaint that you made. Make sure that they haven't watered it down or twisted things around, because this is the framework that they go to work to when they're addressing your complaint. After a while, the complaints process will come back to you with an outcome, and that's your outcome to the complaint. It's either going to be upheld or not upheld. If it's not upheld, you have a right to appeal, which I'll cover in another video. If it is upheld, the police will tell you that the penalty that the police officer or officers will receive, or whether it'll just be words of advice, which, to be honest, is what they do most of the time. Words of advice is basically a slap on the wrist. Don't get caught next time. If you like this video, please click on the like, please click on subscribe. Also, the bell notification will tell you when I release any new videos. If you have any questions about this video, please use the comment section below. Thanks.